Hello, lovely viewers. You are most welcome to our channel Poetry Online. In this video, we shall be discussing the summary and analysis of the book The Courage to be Disliked by Ichiro Kishimi. Kindly subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to get updates on all our new videos. Once again, let us assure you of a very interesting discussion. Get ready for this lesson. The Courage to be Disliked by Ichiro Kishimi. Perhaps it's time for a much needed change of perspective. Maybe we need to work harder on living for ourselves and not for other people. The Courage to be Disliked is a best-selling sensation that tells us to stop living for others and start living for ourselves. Based on Adlerian psychology, we are shown how to be unapologetic about making authentic changes without compromise. Being the person we want to be takes courage, and the search for our authentic self is an ongoing project. To strive towards self-actualization, we need to rid ourselves of past experiences and expectations. We also need to embrace the courage to change without feeling limited or scared of what could happen. The Courage to be Disliked has sold over 3.5 million copies, and Ichiro Kishimi and Fumitake Kuga have become household names in Asia and the world at large. The book explains how we can apply Adlerian philosophies to contemporary life in a bid to play a more active role in our lives and exercise a greater sense of control. We will briefly look at how Alfred Adler's century-old theories can offer new debates into discussions, and analyzing mental health. The author structured the books using Socratic dialogue, making the theories and arguments accessible and easy to follow. The result is an insightful and thought-provoking look into human agency and self-determination, the path to change. Most of us have grown up with a deterministic view of the world. We tend to believe that our identities are fixed and that we're trapped in the person that we are. However, we have the power to change, and no matter what stage of life we are at, we can always grow and change. Despite what we think, our personalities are not fixed. While our past does influence us, it's not the sole determinant of who we are. We often look at victims as products of their past, and we naturally assume that what's going on in the present is related to the past. We have a cause and effect mentality that makes us think in specific ways, and this is reinforced by pop psychology, which argues that our actions are based on trauma. For example, we assume that children will grow up in a certain way based on their current behavior and upbringing. The popular belief is also that psychological problems are heavily rooted in the past. Adler argues that we all can break free from our past, and it does not have to determine our future. In short, we don't have to govern ourselves by our past experiences and trauma. It's important to note that what we experience in the present moment is determined by a range of different factors. There isn't just one answer for everything. Our problems and anxieties aren't fixed or determined by one event. The reasons behind how and why we feel are fluid, and we can always change how we act and behave in everyday life. We accept the world as we see it. How do you feel about change? Many of us resist change because we are used to the status quo. We also tend to alter our outlook on things because it's too much effort. We have been indoctrinated into thinking in binaries. We are told that there's good and evil, hot and cold, light and dark. We are even categorized as either a dog or a cat person, or someone who experiences the world as glass half empty or half full. We see the world in black and white. The thing is, intuitively, we know that the world isn't black and white. We know that there are gray areas, yet we fall into the trap of having a very fixed outlook of the world. Humans don't fit neatly into categories. We are a lot messier than that. Our personalities aren't fixed, and the Adlerian belief is that instead of referring to personality trait, we should adapt to the term lifestyle. This is because lifestyle reflects context and context and environment are significant determinants of how we experience the world and ourselves. Our worldview come into play at about the age of 10, and they are a mixture of positive and negative experiences. When we come into contact with negative people, we often believe that they are actively trying to change their circumstances. However, Alder explains that if these people genuinely wanted to be happy, they would change. He further argues that people are bound to familiarity because it comforts them. This is the primary reason why we resist change. We have an inherent fear of the unknown, and we remain in our comfort zone. The advice is that we have to have the courage to face the unknown and accept failure. Nobody is perfect, so why do we struggle with imperfection? Why do we try to be perfect when we know we can't be? If you could change one thing about yourself, what would it be? Did you struggle to pick just one thing? All too often, our minor imperfections become our major focus. Our flaws can become crippling and spill over into all areas of our lives. So we actively pursue trying to fix ourselves. We believe that our flaws are the roots of our unhappiness. The trouble is that no matter how hard we may think, fixing slight imperfections won't solve the more significant issues. Our insecurities are our insecurities, and other people only see them when we draw attention to them. When we focus on the negative aspect of ourselves, that's what other people see. For example, if we isolate ourselves because we are scared of being judged on how we look, we will end up being judged, but we won't be judged for the reason we participate. We will end up being evaluated for purposefully isolating ourselves. Comparisons are odious. Have you ever wished you were more like someone else? We live in a competitive society. We've been taught to keep up with the Joneses, and now with social media, things are becoming increasingly complex. There's a growing trend that we're never enough. We need to change this belief and adjust our attitudes to competitions. There is nothing wrong with competing per se. Competition is how we make progress and reach our goals. However, competition also has a toxic side. Focusing on winning all the time and being the best causes a lot of undue stress and anxiety. Competition is neither binary. We are forced on ourselves because it results in either winning or losing. We've come to accept that losing makes us failures. However, as we've learned, the only way we learn and grow is through failure. So one way to make sure we are in control of our competitive nature is to set the right goal for ourselves. This comes down to being introspective about what we want in our lives. The truth is that success isn't a good measure of happiness because a lot of successful people aren't happy. The key is to realize that when we are competitive, we are single-minded and we are focused on community or collaboration. We need to adjust our mindset to focus on being more collaborative and realize other people aren't judging us or putting us down all the time. Most of the time, it's just our fears around other people's perception that hold us back and prevents us from getting involved in all life has to offer. Live for yourself. True freedom is to be able to live life by your own choices and decisions. How often do you catch yourself doing things for other people's approval? Approval-seeking behavior is something we all succumb to at some stage or another. Our artist suggests that we abandon this behavior and shift the focus into doing things for our own approval. We should do things because we want to do them, not because we feel duty-bound. Doing things on duty or loyalty aren't good reasons. They result in us living for other people. For instance, why did you choose a particular life path or career? Oftentimes, we make these decisions based on our social context, and our families, peers, and friends can have a considerable influence on these choices. We need to be prepared to disappoint other people. That may be hard to accept, but for those at the back of the room, are you prepared to disappoint your family, peers, and friends? The answer to this question should have an unequivocal and resounding yes. How you live your life should be determined by what you value and what you believe is right. We all have our own set of values that we adhere to, and we need to live authentically. Our authors advise us against getting involved too heavily in other people's lives. We aren't there to criticize or critique other people, and when we put too much pressure on others, they often turn to rebellion. Education is an excellent example of this. We've been led to believe that education should be based on reward and punishment. Again, this binary teaches us that good behavior is rewarded and bad behavior is punished. The value system is problematic because it means that you are either shamed or praised. The artist gave the example of a child who received poor marks at school. The knee-jerk reaction is to be stricter with them, but this seldom solves the problem. When we add pressure on a situation, things get a lot worse. Instead, we need to encourage individuals to take responsibility for their actions. This is a lot healthier because instead of meddling, this behavior encourages children to take agency in their learning. Although it's not as easy as applying pressure, the long-term effects are a generation of children who can learn independently and with maturity. Being controlling is a sign that you are trying to push an agenda, whereas showing support indicates that you have a best interest at heart. The bottom line is that we all are individuals, and while others may influence us, we are separate beings with our own free will. For this reason, we should all adopt the policy of favoring empathy over being controlling. The taming of the ego. Every single one of us is part of humanity, and no one is superior to another. So often, we feel isolated and anxious, and we withdraw because we don't know where we fit in. Our artists argue that it's time to realize that we are all part of a global community and that we're not alone. Being part of a global community isn't just about being connected to other humans. We need to think more in terms of the planet and our influence on the world around us. Creating a greater sense of purpose means that we need to work for the benefits of the planet rather than just for ourselves. Caring about the world means that we will increase our values as global citizens. For a long time, we've been led to believe that we are the center of the universe, but this has no benefit to our psyche. Through encouraging reciprocity and generosity, we are more likely to be inspired to look at the bigger picture and find a greater purpose. We don't owe anything. On the contrary, we owe the world around us. So dig deep and find out how you can change the world and make a positive impact. In conclusion, happiness is a mindset, and we can alter how we view the world. The crucial takeaway is that we have to become independent and shed ourselves of the need to compete with others and compare ourselves with others. Rather than caring what others think, we should strive to foster a greater sense of our role in our community. Every day, we should wake up and ask ourselves, what can I do to make the world a better place? If we begin each day by assessing our contributions to the world, we abandon the mindset that the universe revolves around us. Instead, we need to be acutely aware that we are all equal and we have an equal role to play in the world. Finally, we need to abandon any sense that we are victims or that other people have an easier life than us. Life should be enjoyed, and we need to embrace living in the moment. Pay attention to the people around you because everyone is struggling. And while there's always a handful of bullies and nasty people, most people are not like that. So step outside yourself, have the courage to set a foot into the world, and live your life for your own authentic purpose. Thanks for watching this video. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video.